So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to all of the participants who are listening to us via the internet. I'm very pleased to see that you're interested in Fresenius, and I believe that we have a number of things to report to you this morning. I will definitely refer to our financials and also to our guidance for 2018. And I also know that many are particularly interested in the subject of ACORN. And of course, I will also discuss this as well. But please permit me to make a few statements for the basis of our economic success at the beginning of my presentation. And I promise you I will come to the other subjects later on. The basics and the fundamentals of our success are the following. Namely, that we are striving to achieve more benefits for our patients. We want to provide better medicine, more quality medicine at affordable rates, and that is our desire and our aim for our patients. And we have selected a few parameters of our achievements, namely the parameters that we have achieved while serving the healthcare systems and serving our patients around the world. You can see how many patients we treated last year, how many treatments we performed, 70,000 newborn babies that we were able to help come into the world. And you can also see the contributions that we've made towards keeping medicine affordable and good health affordable to our patients. And you can also see that in the meantime, we have 273,000 employees at Fresenius around the world. And you can also see on this chart how much money we've invested. All of this is being done in order to allow Fresenius to help needy patients even more than in the past. And I would like to follow up with what Reese Powell already mentioned. Well, we're talking about our patients, and if our patients are doing well, then that will help our employees and also, of course, our shareholders. And it's obvious to see that the medical success does not in any way impede our economic success. And if you see our financials for the past year, you can see that this is true. In the year 2017, we have achieved the 14th consecutive record year. All of the forecasts that we provided you with 1 year ago have at least been achieved, if not exceeded. In part, we've also had to upwardly adjust some of our guidance, and nevertheless we achieved them or even exceeded them. And so from an economic standpoint, 2017 was an outstanding year. For the first time in our history, we achieved more than 30 billion euros in sales in the Fresenius Group. And from this position of strength, we have set the goals for growth, not only in this upcoming year, and not only on the way to achieving our midterm targets by 2020, but also towards bringing us into the next decade and beyond that. And when setting the points for this future tracks, I'd like to emphasize the successful acquisition of Quirónsalud. Our hospital business has thus become international, and the integration of this company has been extremely successful to date. From Reese Powell, you've already heard that we also set the points by wanting to acquire Next Stage by Fresenius Medical Care. We are continuing to strengthen our potentials for home dialysis, home hemodialysis. And you know that through Fresenius Kabi, we have made an entry into the biosimilars market. And once again, all of our expectations to date have been confirmed. And that is why we are now in a position to state that we will expect to see continued strong growth in the future, not only in this fiscal year of 2018, but down the road until 2020 and even beyond that. If you look at the figures in detail, and here you can see again our growth rates at constant currency, and we're all in double-digit figures here. Our sales has increased by 16%. The EBIT has increased by 15%, and our net income has increased by even 21%. And I hope that you will agree with me that these are extremely pleasing absolute figures, and they show you our strong growth. And they also are meant to show you that we are growing in a very dynamic way, but also in a very stable way. And the stability of our growth is something that I would like to illustrate to you with this chart, namely that despite any economic cycles, differences in currency translation effects, or whatever, fluctuations here or there, we have continued to show a very regular growth on a very high level. And this is something that we intend to do in the future as well. You can see that the growth rates, that is the compounded annual growth rates, have definitely increased for the past 14th consecutive years. CAGR has grown by 12%, and with regard to net income, our CAGR has grown by 22%. And again, I wish to ascertain that this is not solely due to acquired growth. No, on the contrary, this predominantly comes from organic growth, and is this organic growth that we are going to be continuing 2018 as well. This growth chart looks like it's like we've just kind of pulled a line and we just keep pulling it up as if it was something that happens automatically every year. Of course, that would be very nice if it were to happen automatically, but I can assure you that this is the result of hard work, not only by me, but also by all of the hard work performed by all of our employees, who exceed 273,000. And I would also like to express my thanks for their performance to our employees at this point. Our employees have not only set up a new record result, and this is even more important, in the year 2017 and right now, they have engaged in many good works in order to improve the benefits to our patients. I am very, very pleased, and I'm very happy to be able to tell you that I'm working with a fantastic team that I'm very proud of. If our earnings increase, then of course our shareholders should also participate in this growth as well. And we have we have a dividend policy that is very closely allied to our earnings growth, and it's more or less supposed to correspond our earnings growth. And because we have stated this very clearly across the years, that is surely not such a big surprise to you that we have a very strongly growing dividend that we will be proposing to the supervisory board and the annual general meeting this year. The dividend is to increase to 75 euro cents per share, and that is a plus of a very proud 23 cents. And I'm assuming that the annual general meeting will receive this announcement with a certain amount of joy. And you can see our key financials for the four business segments. And what you're seeing here is that we are consistently able to demonstrate a proud amount of growth. What stands out here are the growth figures for Fresenius Helios, because of course they reflect our acquisition of Quirónsalud, which was closed at the end of January 2017. So this is the first full year for which their results have been consolidated with ours, and that has led to an overproportionate growth rate for our company. But if you also were to abstract the fact that Fresenius Helios in Germany has once again grown strongly, and in fact, all four business segments have continued to grow very strongly. This is a key characteristic of our Fresenius Group, that we are committed to achieving regular, steady growth from all four business segments. And that is why I believe that the Fresenius Group as a whole has become even stronger over the course of time. This success that we have seen in 2017 was definitely also pronounced in the fourth quarter of the year. That is, the results at the end of the year were very, very pleasing, where we once again were able to pick up some additional wind with regard to increasing our results. And that has also allowed us a little bit of additional momentum to launch 2018. And that is why we are very confident in our ambitious guidance that we will be issuing to you. Before I turn to our guidance, however, I would like to briefly refer to our four business segments and let you know what they were concerned with. And before I start off with Fresenius Kabi, allow me to briefly discuss what probably most surprised you when you read our press release. Yes, we have presented record results to you once again. Yes, we have presented a very ambitious guidance for 2018. We have confirmed our midterm targets, and I'm sure that this probably will not have surprised you all that much, but nevertheless, I am assuming that our report regarding Acorn did perhaps surprise you a bit. So allow me to briefly present the facts to you. We received certain tips from anonymous sources referring to breaches with regard to the product development process at Acorn. Anonymous letters are not rare in our industry. In this situation, and if they achieve a certain degree of certainty, then our shareholders are, of course, obligated to pursue these allegations. And that is what we owe our shareholders, and that's what we're doing as part of an independent investigation in which we are using the expertise by industrial experts. And now you possibly might want to say, why didn't you discover this during your due diligence procedure? And at this point, I would like to assure you that was the most comprehensive and the most intensive due diligence process that we've ever done at Fresenius, at least since I've been on board, which means at least since 2005. And we have engaged in a large number of acquisitions in this period. However, it is also clear that if you are acquiring a competitor, would like to acquire a competitor, and this competitor is also listed on the stock exchange, then there are simply restrictions to the amount of information that you can obtain and where you're allowed to look for information, particularly in the very sensitive area of product development at a competing company. And for the most part, this is not part of a due diligence process. So what do? in order to nevertheless be sure that you are acquiring a convincing offer, you allow the seller to give you all sorts of contractual assurances, representations, and warranties, as you know from German. So that is, the seller assures you that the property that you wish to acquire has a certain condition. In this case, what we are looking at is a merger agreement, and we do have these contractual assurances. The task that lies before us now is the following. We now have to review these representations and warranties in order to see whether they really are accurate and true. And that is why, during the course of our investigation, in the interests of our shareholders, we are going to have to look at the situation very deeply to see whether there really has been any possible contractual breaches. It is much too early to say anything or to speculate about the outcome of this investigation. And I'm not going to do so as long as this investigation is still ongoing, because we will have to evaluate the whole outcome of the investigation. But the Fresenius Management Board and the Fresenius Supervisory Board will be informed and will have to make a decision concerning the outcome of this investigation. It's much too early to speculate about what possible results the investigation might bring and what decision Fresenius might take at that point in time. But at this point, I would like to say the following to you. First of all, the strategic sense of expanding our product range through liquid generic medicines continues to be, without a doubt, an important strategic element. Secondly, if the allegations that have been made prove to be immaterial, then, of course, we will implement this transaction. And as so often in the past, we will lead this acquisition to a success for Fresenius. I would like to remind you of the APP acquisition in 2008, which definitely had a very difficult start, but nevertheless, I think that our shareholders in particular have been very satisfied with the outcome of this acquisition. Should, however, the allegations prove to be material and to have been substantiated, and if the management board and the supervisory board then determine that they are so material that they would have a negative impact on our success, then we could make use of the possibility open to us to withdraw from this contract, both in the event that this transaction is closed, and also for the other case. We are well prepared. We have drawn up concepts. We have specific plans that are in our desk drawers. We are firmly convinced, and I will talk about this in a minute, that there is a strong market for liquid generic medicines, which is a strong market for which we are well positioned to enter and with which we want to continue to grow. And this is something that we are going to do. So that's all I wanted to say about Acorn at this point. And now I would like to turn to our existing business, namely Fresenius Kabi, and in particular our business in North America with our liquid products. The final quarter, the fourth quarter, not only for Kabi as a whole, but also Kabi in North America, documents the fact that the concerns in the marketplace, and that also had an impact on our share price in the latter half of 2017, are unsubstantiated. This this is due to the various Cassandras out there. I don't know what the German plural for Cassandras are, but the many voices of Cassandra that are out there are not going to become silent because our results were so good. But at least it will give them cause to think about the arguments that we have listed. Because one thing is perfectly clear. This is not having any impact on our very strong results for the fourth quarter of 2017. We continue to have a pipeline that is well packed with new generic products that we want to launch this year. 56 products in our pipeline, and we're assuming that in 2018 we assume that we will be able to launch at least 15 of these new products. And our ties to our major customers, the group purchasing organizations that the American hospitals have formed, these relations are better than ever before. And due to the pricing pressure that many people keep talking about in this business segment, then I can only tell you for the fourth quarter, but also from today's point of view, that's nothing unusual. Nothing has changed. Nothing that we haven't seen before in the past. There's nothing that we are unable to cope with. Allow us, perhaps, to look forward now and to take a look at the second transaction of the past year, and that is the entry into the biosimilars business with the acquisition of the portfolio from the Merck KGaA in Darmstadt, Germany. We are definitely on the right track here, and I would like to basically confirm everything to you today that I announced to you last April when we announced this possible acquisition. And now that we are the owners of this business, I would like to tell you this with even more conviction on my part. All of the assumptions that we made last year continue to apply from today's standpoint. We are precisely on time with our schedules with regard to the approvals, both in Europe and in the United States, and also with regard to our assumptions concerning development costs. They coincide very precisely with the assumptions that we made last April, and that's why I'm absolutely satisfied with how this business is developing. At Kabi, last year, and this is going to be an issue that is going to accompany us today, we made a huge investment measures, and then we launched certain investment measures as well, in order to drive and continue to allow the organic growth that I've already referred to in my presentation, particularly in our production facilities in North America. We are undertaking a whole series of measures at Melrose Park, which lies outside of Chicago. We are making an investment that amounts to more than $300 million US, and this is aimed towards increased automation in the production process. Believe me, we're not doing this in order to improve our cost position. We're doing this because automation gives us a higher degree of quality and reliability, and that's what our aims are. We believe that we will have a competitive advantage that this investment will allow us to increase. The same applies to the situation at Grand Island in New York State near Niagara Falls, where we have separate production facilities within the site there for particularly sensitive products. And I would also like to say that when we're talking about infusion solutions that we have thought about for quite a long time, we now have a very specific plan ahead of us, and you should look forward to the fact that at various sites in the United States, we will begin with the production of infusion solutions Some of this will happen at the existing production facilities that Kabi has, and partly we will be doing this in cooperation with Fresenius Medical Care at their production facilities, and we will also utilize their logistics network at the same time. We have done an awful lot in order to expand our product range and to internationalize our product range. We are the market leaders for infusion pumps here in Europe, and we are also able to bring this infusion pump to North America and make it a success there as well. We have been able to increase the functionality of this infusion pump, and we see that this is being well accepted in the North American market. We are working on a number of nutritional solutions that we've introduced to the North American market, and there too, clinical opinion leaders have found them to be very good. So this was a lot about the United States. I would like to add to this by saying that, of course, here in Europe, we're also making strong investments, for example, by expanding our plants in Portugal for the production of antibiotics, for which there is a very strong demand here in Europe. Or, and we have a number of different initiatives in Asia, in particular in China, where we have the production for our clinical enteral nutrition that is being expanded there. These are all initiatives that really help us to drive our strong organic growth that you've seen in the past and will continue to see in the future as a result of these initiatives. So now I would like to say a few words about Fresenius Helios. As I said initially, we are extremely satisfied with the integration and the first consolidation as a full year of Quirónsalud. This has at least met all of our expectations. The first synergy advantages have already been leveraged. These are, however, only the beginnings. During the course of last year, we kept pointing out that at the end of the day, what we are striving for here is to improve the quality by trying to introduce a more standardized and better level. And that is what we are continuing to work on. We are working on more collaboration with regard to purchasing or procurement with Helios. And we want to make better use of the existing knowledge, both in Germany and in Spain. And that is why we've decided to form a holding company under which both our German and our German hospital business will be managed. This exchange of knowledge and transfer of knowledge is to be institutionalized within this holding company. And this holding company should also show you that due to the success that we've had, we're not ruling out the possibility of perhaps making a second step abroad somewhere. But on the other hand, don't expect this to happen in the near future. As I've repeatedly said throughout the past year, we first want to see confirmation of the fact that there can be transnational synergy benefits, which would lay the foundation for reinforcing the idea of going abroad once again. But first, I really want to have proof of this fact. On the other hand, we definitely want to perhaps set the prerequisites for being able to perhaps take the step at some point in the future. Within Germany, we also had a very good year in 2017, and we can also see, or we're also looking toward with lots of confidence for 2018. So the subject that has been hotly contested with the staffing ratios in hospitals has now found its way into the German coalition agreement between the political parties who will be forming the new government. And this is something that the new government will be tackling in the future. At this point, I would like to say that I think that in many places this subject was not really suitable for increasing benefits to the patients in many ways. What is more important and what should be more important in hospitals is to measure hospital companies against the medical quality and the service quality that they are able to offer their patients. And if they were to introduce these minimum staffing ratios, then that is more or less a penalty for those who in the past have made successful investments, who have invested in more efficient buildings, in more efficient processes. And that is why, in many cases, we consider this to be the wrong incentive. The initiatives that we are tackling within our hospitals refer to digitization, yes, on the one hand, in order to achieve even greater efficiency, but on the other hand, also to increase patient benefits, to eliminate unnecessary treatment steps, to avoid duplication of efforts. They also refer to a certain centralization of treatments at individual larger hospitals. We simply and firmly believe that in particular, the number of cases that are being treated is a very good predicator for the quality of these interventions. And this is why we would like to continue to work on forming centers. And this is something that perhaps you should expect more initiatives from us throughout the course of the year. We are making major capital expenditures here, not in Germany as well. For example, you see the hospital in Nordenham. We have also continued to build new buildings in Duisburg. And if you've been tracking the news with regard to the Horst Schmidt Clinic in Wiesbaden, we are building an exemplary hospital just on the outskirts of Wiesbaden. So I've said a lot about Germany, and let me turn briefly to Spain. We're also making investments in Spain. We are thinking about building new hospitals, but we're also expanding the capacities of our existing hospitals. And this is an expression of the fact that the patients really want to come to our facilities. We are seeing increasing patient numbers coming to us, and this is what we are trying to do with our increasing capex, but to meet the increasing need for our services. But we also want to improve the situation in the very fragmented Spanish market, that even more fragmented than the situation in Germany when we acquired Helios. Vamed has also had a very pronounced successful year. They have continued to grow. What is very nice is that we've been able to move in our more stable and also higher margin service business. The order intake has reached a record level, and here once again we have decided in favor of promoting additional growth. Vamed is the expert in rehabilitation within the Fresenius Group, and this has been promoted by taking over a rehabilitation clinic in Switzerland. But the high quality, highly specialized services for hospitals at Vamed is becoming more and more important. And here we have deliberately promoted this field by taking over the preparation of sterile goods. And this is a field of business that I would expect to see growing in the future. So the order intake also gives me the confidence that in 2018, once again, we will be able to generate a growth. And that brings me to our outlook for 2018. And you can see that we have once again set very ambitious targets for all of our business segments. And what stands out here and what might be a bit unusual for you is the projected decrease in EBIT at Fresenius Kabi. What you have to take into account here, however, please, is the first time full year consolidation of the biosimilars business that we've acquired from Merck, and the expenditures that we are planning for 2018, which are absolutely in line with what we had presented to you when we closed this transaction. They are nevertheless going to have an impact on the EBIT growth. In my opinion, this is an investment in our future growth, which, however, we will have to pull through our income statement because, in my opinion, this is a project that is really a major investment, and thus we have shown how our results will grow without the EBIT investments in the biosimilars business. And that's where you can see positive growth of 2 to 5% approximately. So you'll say, hey, wait a minute, 2 to 5%. But that is also a little bit less than what we've been used to in the past. Yes, that's true. But I can assure you that with one exception, this lies in line with what we've always shown you in the past. And this exception refers to the product HACE. HACE stands for hydroethyl starch. And this is a blood volume replacement substance. Patients who have lost an extreme amount of blood ideally receive our product, HACE. In 2013, this product was used, and there was a certain amount of controversy at that point in time. And it was decided that this product should not be given to patients suffering from sepsis. And at that point in time, the label was restricted, and all sorts of warnings were inserted into the label. And that did have a bit of an impact on our business. We did see some decreases in our sales, which we also had to take into account in our income statement. This controversy has risen once again because an application study showed an extremely high application off-label with regard to this product, and the European Medicines Agency then established 2 committees, and they decided to recommend the suspension of HACE. At this point in time, this is only a recommendation. It has not been decided to suspend this product. From our point of view, this is impossible. That all of the patients who really need this product would not be allowed to use this product due to the fact that somebody is using this product for off-label use. And the EMA committees that have recommended this suspension have also acted counter to all of the recommendations that they have heard from their own experts, which has surprised us. We not only find this somewhat amazing, but a whole series of medical associations, anesthetists and anesthesiologists and others have already advocated that this product continue to be made available to our patients. So whether there really is going to be an economic impairment as a result of this suspension is something that nobody really knows at this point in time. But because this recommendation has been made to suspend haze, we also considered it to be careful to use to act like a prudent businessman and thus to discount our initial growth targets. And that has led to a slight depression of the growth rates that we are showing you, which are slightly below than what you could expect based on our past track record. If we now take a look at Fresenius as a group, then the group outlook shows you once again very ambitious growth charts. The sales growth is to range between 5 to 8% at constant currency, and the net income growth is to increase by 6 to 9%. Once again, the expenditures for the development of our biosimilars is contained in these figures, and that's why we consider it to be appropriate to show you this growth rate and that's why you also can see where we've excluded the biosimilars, where our net income growth should lie between 10 to 13%. And that leads us to our midterm targets, which we announced to you last year. But, of course, they are subject to fluctuations in the currency exchange effects. And, of course, occasionally there are certain changes to the regulations as to how exchange rates are applied. And that's why we had to focus on the underlying compounded annual growth rate between now and 2020. And we again confirmed the statements that we announced last year. The sales growth is to achieve high one-digit figures between 7.1 and 10.3%, and the results for net income should be a little bit higher than that, between 8.3% and 12.6%. At this point, I would like to remind you that these are growth figures that do not contain any larger acquisitions. This does not include Next Stage or Acorn or anything else that we might possibly acquire during the next couple of years. This is predominantly organic growth, small and midterm acquisitions about which we might not even have to report, but yes, they might be contained. But this is predominantly due to organic growth. Allow me then to briefly summarize the economic part of my presentation by saying 2017 was once again another record year and was also reflected in a very strong fourth quarter. And that gives us a lot of impetus for 2018, reinforces our ambitious guidance that we have presented to you here today. And this is why we also believe in the confirmation of our midterm goals until 2020. And based on this position of strength that we have laid the foundations for continued growth over and above 2020, that is, for the next decade. And in conclusion, I would like to end with something more fundamental. I would like to come back to the patient benefits, which represents our motif, and we simply believe that patient deserves to be looked at from a holistic approach, and that we have to continue to work hard to ensure that this holistic approach is also reflected in the provision of services and cost reimbursement. And whereas in the past, one tended to focus the cost reimbursement as opposed to the amount of money actually being invested and not necessarily taking into account the efficiencies, then we believe that we need a real change in the paradigm towards a very strongly quality-based and value-based approach to healthcare. And we're actively going to work towards this change. We believe that we are predestined and are well equipped to shape this change in the paradigm in order to bring this to life. We believe that in the future, we will have to rely even more on the experience within a company that provides services. And that's why, with the medical data that we have at our disposal, due to the large numbers of Helios hospitals and the large number of Fresenius Medical Care dialysis clinics, that we have all of this data to really help determine what the best treatments are for any given diagnosis. And this is something that we want to continue to expand. And that is why you can see the very many different steps that we have taken to diversify our product range at Fresenius Kabi. And that we are also going to be rolling this out to countries that we haven't covered yet, and to also diversify our services products. Home dialysis, home hemodialysis will become even more important. The internationalization of our hospital business, in order to really leverage the quality standards both in Germany and in Spain. And who knows, possibly maybe in a third country at some point in time in the future. This is what we have dedicated ourselves for the interests of our patient, because if our patients are doing well, our employees will be doing well, and of course our shareholders will be happy with us as well. So in this sense, I am very pleased to look forward to your questions. And Rachel Empey, our Chief Financial Officer, will assist me to answer your questions. Thank you very much.